Good afternoon, everyone. It's Graham Cofe with another My Music. Today, in a minute, I'm going to be talking to Joe. We're really excited because, it's now a week away, isn't it? Christmas. So, if there's screaming from the background today, it's the kids have broken up, right? That's it. That's the last day of school, which is always, you'll remember the last day of school, Joe. It's
the whole send off into the festive period, isn't it?
Yeah, really exciting time. Anyway, quick word from our sponsor, and we'll be right back, and then we'll find out maybe what Joe's getting for Christmas. I need to get going, Mel. See you later. There you are, a Nexstand, something that all good geeks would like for Christmas. Hold your laptop up at the right angle. Joe, collect cool. The name of the. Are you calling it a band, a project, just a name to work under?
Yeah, I guess it's more in my head, more like a collaborative project. So, like,
right,
the play on words, the calling of others to kind of join this kind of the idea of people who don't fit in one particular sort of like clique, the outsiders, basically. That's kind of where I'm trying to pin it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So before we start talking about where you started in music, etc., which we're doing in a minute, just to say on the bit of music that you sent me, which is that an EP? Are you calling that an EP or
yeah EP?
I was surprised. I'm surprised now meeting you because I'd say that you're younger than I thought you were going to be. only because it's very mature. In terms of sound. Okay, and secondly, you start off listening to it and you think, oh, I've got this. I know what this is about. And then by the end, I thought, no, I didn't know what that was about. So yeah, it's very definitely, you're very definitely not a one-trick pony.
Well, that's good to know,
isn't it?
Yeah.
So we'll hold that. We'll come back to that, Paul. But where did music start for you? When did you first start doing whatever it was?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I've kind of been doing music for a long time. I kind of mainly got into music to hang out with people that I thought were cool at school. And then it kind of
Did it work? Did it work?
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Oh, right. That's okay then.
The guy that was in the band at the time couldn't sing. I could kind of carry a tune at the time. And then they were like, oh, we'll get Joe in. And and still kind of see some of them to this day. But the music's kind of been for years. It was kind of almost like a hobby for me. Like I didn't study it traditionally, sort of taught or myself on most instruments. But now I work in a recording studio, so it's kind of very much gone from that kind of taking it from a hobby to touch wood. That's kind of my livelihood at the moment. So I'm very, very honoured to be kind of in that position, really.
I love it. I love the fact that you managed to push out a member of a band on the basis that you could sing and that they could.
Well, it was mainly it was mainly the other's idea. It wasn't just me.
Right. Okay.
Don't paint me as the bad guy.
No. Okay. It was that it had come to that foregone conclusion anyway.
Yeah.
Is that what we're saying?
And, something along those lines. Yeah.
Something along that line. Yeah. So what did that look like when you first started hanging out with these people and making music? Was that in the traditional sense of someone playing a bit of guitar, someone playing drums or whatever, or were you geeking out over keyboards and sequences and how did that look?
Yeah, it was very much kind of I mean, this was when we were back at school, so we must have been like 14, 15, something like that. And we were all very much obsessed with like the Beatles, and me and the guitarist especially were kind of, our long-standing obsession with Radiohead kind of started. So we were talking a lot about like all the albums we were listening to and stuff. So it was mainly kind of guitar bands. And there were two brothers in the band, and they were obsessed with the Chili Peppers. So that was another thing. We did a lot of like covers, basically. It was kind of like,
right.
We met at we used to do this after-school club called Starfish Youth Music, kind of from where we are. We grew up in Lewes, like down the road from where I am now. And we just did loads of covers, a couple of originals. And then, that was kind of the first foray into music, yeah.
Oh, right, so you had these kind of big funky bass lines, and then you were singing like Tom York over the...
Pretty much, yeah. It was this really weird melding of worlds, yeah.
Kind of the ethereal and
I mean, it's essentially what, Atoms for Peace was. Eventually Flea and Tom York got together, so maybe I could have, I could have been the precursor to that, but it's best not to think about.
He probably turned up at a pub one night, heard you, and thought, "That's it."
They're onto something. Yeah. I should nick that.
I'm going to call Flea tomorrow.
Yeah,
that's a great idea. Yeah, just keep that in your head. That actually, that's what you managed to achieve.
I'm gonna tell everyone that. Yeah,
that's a story. So covers, and when did you then start making your own music? When did you decide, look, actually, there's a tune in me here?
Yeah, I mean, near the end of that band, when we were sort of finishing school, going off to college and stuff, and some members were leaving, I started writing my own stuff, and then kind of all the way through college and university, I fronted different kind of bands. Like the last band I was in before Collect Call was more of initially it was like a 3-piece garage psych rock kind of psychedelic group, and we did an album together, and that was really fun, but it was never really kind of my thing. I just did it because it's a long old story, but the long and the short of it is that I wanted to continue playing music, but couldn't really do what I wanted to for various reasons. But then when I found myself in a position of, I'm getting really bored of this, I just want to do something that's a bit more me, I started Collect Call, the first iteration of it, which was like a 3-piece. And it was myself and 2 others. And then, of course, the dreaded C word, COVID. That is not any other C word. COVID happened. There we go. And
copacetic. Yeah. There's a great C word.
Yeah, and they had to leave because they basically moved back home. One of them was from Wales, and the other one wanted to continue on different music projects. So I was kind of left in this position of not really knowing what I wanted to do with music, and then kind of messed around with what is now the EP, and kind of almost rediscovered why I enjoyed doing it in the first place, really. So that's a very long-winded answer to your question, and I've kind of forgotten what the question was, so I apologize about that.
No, it's fine. So what was it that you really do enjoy about music then? Which you rediscovered doing this EP?
I think it was kind of more of just an internal thing of me being able to. I felt like I was in the lyrical content of my music. I think I was kind of trying to hide from a lot of issues I didn't want to really discuss or talk about. But then I kind of felt that because of what was happening in the world and COVID and everything, there wasn't really much point in hanging on to stuff anymore. So I just kind of thought, screw this. I'm going to write exactly what I'm thinking. And it just felt like a much more liberating kind of process.
Well, it's really interesting. It's really interesting you say that, because that narrative actually speaks through to most people. So my day job is social media, and actually you find the same coming out of the mouths of a lot of people across social media, even business-based social media, that the walls came down
Yeah.
And I feel that a lot of people just thought, do you know what? Life's too short. You know, this is actually me. This is how I feel. This is what I'm about. I'm not gonna try and hide behind corporate babble anymore, or what other people assume that I should be saying or doing. I'm going to be me. I'm going to be quite authentic.
Yeah.
You know,
authentic, and you know, the whole unapologetic kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's very much reflected in the songs of the EP, mainly the first song. There's a line, now I've stopped waiting patiently for you with nothing else to do. So it's like, even though I might be twiddling my thumbs in this situation, I'd have much better things to be worrying about than, you know, a particular individual or a particular problem, that kind of thing. So yeah.
Did your from those early days of the early bands and listening to the Beatles and Radiohead, did your music listening change slightly as well, or did it not maybe change? I mean, you may still love those bands as well, but did it broaden, and did that have an influence?
Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to think of more. Music. I mean, kind of meeting different people through different musical like groups and various other bits and bobs. I feel like I've taken a lot more music in. I mean, and like, I'm just trying to think of artists. Like obviously, like Bowie's work, even though he's referenced quite a lot. Also, a really big influence was the Japanese composer Ryuichi Sakamoto, who I think actually worked with Bowie, but is amazing by his own standards. And he's done the soundtrack for The Revenant, and it was in Yellow Magic Orchestra, that band from sort of the mid 70s to 80s. So I've kind of been like going back and listening to a lot of older music, like a lot of old jazz, Mingus and Coltrane, and Dorothy Ashby, this amazing harpist slash like musical director who was around sort of in the around the 60s period. So yeah, I've got quite eclectic tastes, but it definitely branched out from the initial kind of, you know, doing covers of Californication and stuff like that.
And the funny thing is, you're referencing older material or you know, some classic artists there, but you've actually got a very modern sound.
Oh, thanks.
which is true. I mean, the thing is, I can hear where those elements are, but in the production, I think more than anything, and in the stylization of it, it's really quite contemporary. It's really quite up to date. You know, I don't feel like you're trying to. I don't think feel like you're trying to emulate a sound of the 60s or anything like that in the actual production of it. You can hear maybe the influences coming through, but not in the actual production. Is that fair to say? Would you say?
Oh no, yeah, totally. I think also me working on my own because Collect Calls kind of, I write and record it and then get my friends, well, this is currently how it works, and then I'll get my good friends to kind of help me perform it live. And I don't know, I think there's a more concise thing, because it's just me. It's just, yeah, I mean, you know, hopefully speaking anyway. But yeah, I kind of wanted to blend these two worlds of sort of organic sounds, like, you know, the acoustic guitars and pianos that you hear on the EP, and this weird kind of these weird electronic elements and drums and synths and stuff, but creating their own space where they both make sense. And I know that's been done quite a lot on like, I know Beck does that quite a lot on a lot of his records, and he's a big influence in terms of, he's sort of the chameleon of, like, you know, the music world. One minute he'll be doing a folk album, the next he'll be doing this, you know, hip hop laced kind of release.
Yeah, I'd say that I think for anyone trying to get a reference point, that's a very good reference point for you. And that's what I was saying, going back to what I heard when you sent the music over. Because, you know, to begin with, I'm like, this first song, I'm thinking he's like a really cool James Blake, you know. But as it moved through, it's like, okay, you know, as soon you get through the first song and you think, okay, I've got the measure. As I say, you think I've got the measure of this, and then no, I haven't. And you've gone off on a tangent. I think you'll be a really, really great albums artist.
Again, thank you. All the compliments, very kind.
No, because actually, what I really like from an albums artist is where, I mean, there's two things. It's sometimes, you know, someone has and I was discussing this with Harry yesterday. Sometimes someone develops a sound and they take you with that sound all the way through an album. And in a way, sometimes if you really love that sound and that feel, then that's great, you know.
Yeah.
But I also think it's really great if someone can actually just all the way through an album take you into different places. And you know, and there may be, in terms of themes or storyline or anything else, something that pulls it together. But actually, it's really quite refreshing sometimes if you can listen to something and go, whoa, that, you know, the next song isn't just a copy of that song, and the next song isn't just a copy of that song, and it actually takes you in those different areas.
Yeah, definitely. I think, I mean, I guess you could go down two different avenues with that. You could go down the really conceptual sort of sound. I mean, the most conceptual album that I heard in the last couple of years was the last Radiohead record, because it's just from start to finish, it's this really moody, like, it's great driving music, and it never lets up. It's this very, you know what you're getting from it. But like, if you listen to like some of the early like Gorillaz records, there'll be like one song will be completely different to the other, especially on the first record, which I love. And it kind of, it sets that, it creates the universe in which you're listening to the music in, but it gives you these depths to it. If that makes sense.
No, absolutely. That's right. It takes you off to a universe. That's a very clear, it's very clear that you're in that, but it's almost like you're visiting the planets in the universe, and each planet's different. There you go. There's a metaphor for music.
I'll take that.
There was one on a Friday. That's brilliant. So when does this EP land? Is this EP out now?
It's already out. Yeah,
it's already out. Brilliant.
Yeah, listen to it in all the usual places. There's even some limited edition cassette tapes on Bandcamp.
Cassette tapes.
Cassettes, and they've got a little download, so if you don't have a cassette player, you can still listen to it.
Oh, guys! Now, each of these cassettes, when you buy one, you need to buy one of these as well. Again, me and Harry were talking about this yesterday. This is a pen, an HB pencil will do as well, and this is in case you can't wind on your cassette. You can literally just put that through the little, you know, cassette. There's a really cute little video that my wife did a couple of nights ago. We actually found a cassette tape. Oh, there it is. This is from the era of cassette tapes.
Oh, brilliant.
Okay, this is an original copy of Living Colour. Doing what song was this? Love Rears Up Its Ugly Head.
Oh, okay. Do
you remember that song?
I know it. I wasn't around at the time, but I know it.
Love rears up its ugly head is on this, and so we we gave it to my little boy, and for a start he spent ages going, how do I open it? And he's trying to open it from here. And he then went and put it in the CD machine because we told him that it was music on it, and they were pressing buttons
oh dear,
desperately to try and get it out. But that's the thing. You know, if you've never seen a cassette player before, etc. Yeah, but this is brilliant. Why cassette for you? I mean, you're younger generation. Why cassette?
I kind of wanted something physical and didn't want I didn't want CDs because I think they're naff. But
Right.
for a different reason. I mean, like, so it's a bit of a weird one. CDs are like the quality of MP3s and whatnot. From like an audiophile perspective, it's really kind of crushing it down and reducing it and whatnot. So I thought, why don't I create something that's physical and tangible that someone can have as, like, I don't know, something decorative, or they can play it if they want, and then have high quality download that they can then play wherever. So I thought of the idea of cassette because vinyl's still so expensive for unsigned artists, and it's all kind of self-financed at the moment.
Yeah. And as every other guest lately has said, and Adele's actually used up all of the vinyl.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah.
So yeah.
And I kind of like the idea of almost like there were a lot of cassette samples on the EP itself. Like, this right here. I've got another one, but this is like an old cassette player I found on the street, and I would have to hold down the play button in certain really small increments to kind of get this, like, to get like a vary speed kind of function on it, and then I'd sample that, put it through guitar pedals and stuff. But a lot of the EP was made on that. Thank you. Yeah, a lot of it was made on that, and I thought, wouldn't it be cool if you found this tape that almost looks like it was from that era, and like an old relic, and you just put it in and it plays, and it's like this sort of like hidden gem kind of thing.
Now you see, that's a really great story. You need to make sure that that story is on your Bandcamp or wherever. You know, so
well, I need to write it down.
You need to. Well, you can watch this back and it will be there.
Oh, well, yeah.
There you go. But that's a really great little artisanal story about why you did that. Yeah, there you go. Also, the other thing I would say about a cassette tape, which is the other reason you did it, and although you didn't realise it, is that with a cassette, unlike a CD, unlike Spotify or all streaming services or whatever, even more so than vinyl, right? The one thing that was always there with a cassette is that once you start, you can't stop. Yeah. You've just got to you've got to go through it. You know, I mean, there was that fast forward, rewind, but everyone knew that if you did that too much to a cassette tape, it would break.
Absolutely.
Right. So back in the day when we had these things, you know, once it went in the cassette player, you listened to the whole thing. And that's a really great thing. And that's important, right? How important is it? How important is it for you that, you know, making music in this kind of generation where it's so easy just to go, not even through a whole song, but like 30 seconds of a song, go, yeah, I've had enough of that now, on to the next one, that actually people give the time over?
Well, wasn't it she's already been mentioned, but wasn't it Adele who managed to convince Spotify to remove the shuffle button on like the homepage for albums, because they should be, and I do agree with her. I mean, albums and, you know, EPs, they are concepts, and an artist has worked 9 times out of 10 at least, they've worked really hard to create, as we said, this environment that you're trying to take the listener to, this experience. And I've always believed it's really important to have a message like that within music, and to kind of immerse yourself in it. It is really difficult though, because obviously to try and create a fan base in the modern era, and to try and sort of, you know, crack the market or whatever they're saying, you know, whatever those people are saying, you need to have something that's like commercially viable. Yeah. But surely it's that battle. I was talking to someone about this last night, but it's that battle of like artistic integrity versus commercial validity or viability, you know, whatever you'd call it. And I think you can get, it's really easy for musicians to get inside their own head about it. And it can really affect the creative process. And I think that's one thing that I've learned in all the years of making music, is to sort of let go from that. Like, for example, the first song on the EP, it was just a little idea I had that was floating about for 6 months, just the keys loop. And then we were in the studio and we just recorded it in about an hour. And I was like, right, that's it, done, I'm not touching it. And then I did the vocals the next day, and then that was it.
Yeah.
You know,
I think it's really important. I think it's really important that when people listen to music, and if anyone's out there and afterwards you go and listen to Joe's music and you like it, please do this, because it's what makes it special. Go and tell Joe what little bit of the music you really liked, right? Be really geeky about it, because in a way, I don't think there's anything better for a musician when someone's gone, and you know this bit here where you do this, because to me that means they've bothered. You know, they've actually bothered to listen to that bit, you know. Yeah, and they might be wrong about it as well. They might say, "Oh, you know where you put that triangle in there," and you say, "It's not a triangle. It's not a triangle," but it doesn't matter.
Actually, I think you'll find that, yeah.
Yeah, actually, it's. But the thing is, do you know what I'm saying? I don't think it matters. Yeah. I think when people actually stop and give you respect for what you've done and actually mention specific little moments or specific words in a song or whatever, that's a really big deal for a musician. A really big deal.
Yeah,
because it actually means, oh, you've actually bothered to engage with this, and it's obviously affected you, and that's what you want to achieve, isn't it? That's what you want to be there for. It's going back all those days when you first started and you were, you know, listening to, I don't know, Karma Police or whatever.
There are going to be people listening just like, oh yeah, he did, didn't he? That's it. Yeah, and I nerded out so much about all of that, like especially like at the end of Karma Police, for example, like the Roland tape echo with the feedback all the way up and all that stuff. And I love that. That's probably why I work in music now, because I love just getting to grips with all of that, and I love all the nuanced parts. But yeah,
exactly that. And you know, and anyone will tell you that, you know, if you'd have spoken to members of Radiohead and said, look, I love that, you know, they would be really pleased. They would be really pleased, because that's, you know, that's what they labored over, you know. It's everybody would love a bit of their 30 seconds of their song to appear in an advert somewhere for a, you know, for something that propels it and brings them to the main stage. That's brilliant, you know. But whilst that works when we're watching TV and you get that little bit of an advert, etc., we don't want the rest of your listening experience to be the same way. You know, let's move past the 30 seconds when you're actually listening to something. So what's your ambitions like for 2022? 2022.
What year is it? Well, hoping that, well, pending the government whatever happens in the next few weeks. Hopefully just after Christmas, I'm getting back in the studio, finishing off some bits. Hopefully it's going to be another EP. But some of the songs I think we're going to feel out and see if they kind of, you know, they grow legs, so speaking. Right. But yeah, hopefully just loads of gigs, and then like getting some new songs together, basically. Yeah, just trying to gig as much as possible.
Which part of the country are you in, Joe?
So I'm based in Brighton,
down
by the south coast. Yeah.
So predominantly you'll be, if you're gigging, you're in the London, Brighton area, are you?
Yeah, we want to try and gig further afield. We've done mainly Brighton shows at the moment, trying to see what works with like the live band arrangement. But we're hoping to. I mean, in the past I've done shows in like Manchester and Bristol. It'd be great to get back there.
Bristol, fantastic.
I love Bristol. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Is that where you are?
I'm south of Bristol. Yeah, Bristol's fine.
Or maybe see you there then.
Yeah, I can make it to Bristol. Yeah, Rough Trade's a great place to play in Bristol.
Oh, I'd love to play Rough Trade. Yeah, they're all great. Yeah.
I always. I was saying to someone else the other day, what's really great about it is it's got all the elements. It's small enough, but it's big enough, obviously, to play. And you've got the record stores open for a little bit as well, and there's a bar, right? So I mean, I think that's great. And you typically find that the band are there in amongst music lovers, and they're all, you know, flicking through 12 inches and cassette tapes. You see, getting inspired. Yeah, I think that's it. It's a perfect kind of conglomeration of things. Rough Trade. That's twice I've mentioned you now. Just saying. All right.
Just saying.
Maybe a little Rough Trade T-shirt or something. But there you go. No, thanks so much for coming on and talking to me today. I absolutely loved the EP. Thank you so much. Just so that people know, what's it called? Where can people get it?
So EP is called The Golden Hour, and you can listen to it on all streaming services, and it's available to buy on Bandcamp.
Yes, and do that. Actually buy it on Bandcamp. Do you have any merch? Do you have any merch?
Just the cassettes. We're looking to do some, hopefully t-shirts next year. Trying to sort that out. Yeah.
Okay. I because you haven't watched one of these before, I'll just give you my little tip, which I have given lots of musicians, and I believe some are taking this and running with it. Which is, when you get the t-shirts done, just get on the back of the t-shirt. You get a nice picture on the front, obviously. On the back, I listen to Collect Cool on, and then name the streaming services. And the idea is, folks, that continue to listen to the music for absolutely free. Well, other than your subscription, if you pay for one of those to the streaming services, but make sure you buy the t-shirt. All right.
Absolutely.
It's as simple as that, really. I mean, you would have paid once upon a time, you would have had to pay 10 quid or whatever for a CD, or £10 for an album or whatever. In fact, if you're going to buy an album these days on vinyl, that's what, 17-18 pounds at least. So buy a t-shirt instead. There you go. It sounds like a fair trade to me.
Yeah, and it means I can eat for a day.
And it means Joe can eat for at least a day. Baked beans on toast are fairly reasonable.
Oh yeah, that was on a tenner. Oh, that'd last me a week.
There you go. No, it's been an absolute pleasure. Let's hope we can get together for another chat again in 2022. And just the last question, which I often ask to end on, Joe, is if you could collaborate with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
I would probably have to say Nick Drake.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Big fan of his. I remember going to see his, because my sister got me into his music, and I didn't know who he was, and she was like, "Oh, let's go to the village he grew up in, Tanworth and Arden, I think, near Rugby." And I was like, "Yeah, fine, we'll go," because our aunt lives like down the road. And then went to go visit his grave without even hearing any of his music, and I got this really overwhelming sense of, I can't even place it. It was, I'm not spiritual, but it was the closest thing I think I've experienced to something like that. And then went home, listened to all three of his records, and just sort of changed my perspective on it completely.
Yeah. What an absolute talent.
Yeah.
What an absolute talent. Which is your favourite?
No, don't.
Yeah.
Pink Moon.
Yeah. Do you know what? That's what most people say.
Yeah. It's between
really
that
hard.
Later, I think it's really hard. Yeah.
It is really hard, but Pink Moon so far in the stakes have come out top. I'm gonna. Every time someone says that they love Nick Drake, I'm going to ask them that question. One day I'm going to,
do a big bar graph or something.
Do a big bar graph and go, yeah. Do you know, actually,
the numbers don't lie. Yeah.
Yeah, Pink Moon is it. It's been an absolute pleasure, Jay. So have a great weekend. Have a great Christmas. I'll see you in 2022 somewhere in Bristol playing your music.
Definitely. Right. Yeah. Thanks so much, Graham. Thank you.
Take care for now. Bye-bye.
Bye.